What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time for new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Frieren Season 2, Episode 1. I am so incredibly excited for this. As much as I like and enjoy all of the shows that I've reacted to so far, which really isn't that much yet, but still, Frieren Season 1 is a show from before the era of my channel that I absolutely adore. I've seen Season 1 twice in full and countless other times via reactions. It is very much a series that I greatly appreciate and am so excited to be able to talk through with this second season. Hopefully the second season lives up to the hype. Who knows if it will, but I have faith based on how good Season 1 was. And I've been anticipating the release of this so much that over the last week or so, I've actually gone back and rewatched a few key episodes from the first season, taken some notes on them, that kind of thing. Just want to make sure I'm up to date in my knowledge, because though a lot of it has been ingrained in me after all of my times watching the show, inevitably some details fall through after several years. But I now think after rewatching a few key episodes that I am in a spot where I know roughly where we're at, roughly what's sort of going on, that kind of thing, and I'm eager to just get into it. For those of you who are new to the channel, or at least new to my anime reactions, I set these reactions up in a watch-along style, where for the ideal experience you would have your own copy of the episode that you sync up with this video. There will be a countdown timer and then a timer that you can sync up to. That will play in just a moment after I finish yapping. And other than that, just feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and consider becoming a channel member if you want to support me just that little bit extra. And let's get into this. Oh wow, we're literally picking up from right where the last season ended. That's the same bridge. Huh. The music's back. God. Even just the visuals already match so well. I really just love the style of this show. That is something I'm curious about, is if we're going to sort of return to just the trio and their journeying, or if any of the characters from the mage exam are going to come up again pretty immediately. Because that was a dense arc character-wise. Ooh, it feels like they're doing some mirroring with episode 1. On a cart going down a road, her facing a book. Okay, need some work. Yeah. Need to make sure you can feed yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, you're pretty damn versatile as a mage. Yeah, okay, even she notices. Needing to look for work. Yeah, even that mirrors. Yep. Oh. And they've already been on this journey for a long time. But nope, it's just a brief journey. Ooh, opening time. Okay. It's probably going to take me a few to get used to it, because I love the first two openings, but let's see what this song is like. Okay. Okay. I feel like I recognize this artist. Who is this? I guess I'll find out in a moment. I feel like I recognize the voice and style. God, it's good to be back. It's amazing to see these characters again, but like in a new form. Oh boy. That entire journey just condensed down. Ooh. I love the cuts with the music. And all the way to the end of the journey. Yeah. Huh. The blue petal. A petal from Himmel's favorite flowers, yes. Miss Green Apple, that's who it is. Okay. I don't know a ton of their music, but I do recognize them. Huh, okay. Some characters I recognize, some I don't. Ooh. The extra petals falling into the hand, interesting. Okay, that's really good. Okay, we're still 29 years out. Hasn't been too long. Into the next area, though, like new region. Come on, Stark, you can catch a fish. Not if your fishing rod breaks, I guess. Are they just foraging to survive, or is this part of their work? Okay, yeah, just foraging. Quite a small fish. Oh no, what? Did you lose something, Frieren? That's actually a good point. Oh. Oh, did she, like, leave something here, like, several decades ago? I love that it's just accepted to praise her if she wakes up. Oh? What was that doing in a bush? What? Oh, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. And then should be able to work once he stepped away. Yep. Huh. So something that huge is insane. And that was just in a bush. I'm guessing she stashed it there at some point. Yeah. They'd have to rely on Stark while they have it. Oh, she loves to show off magic bullshit. Oh? Okay. That was visually really solid for just making something glow. Wow. But that's gonna reveal their position, ain't it? Oh no, okay, it's just... They just left it there, it's still glowing. Oh yeah. Okay. Volcanic area, whoa. Yeah. I guess we are getting into the more treacherous parts of the journey. Okay. Something tells me it's gonna be a minute till we get there, though. Yeah, something wrong with the ground. Oh my god. A pitfall trap? Just on the road? Or is that just the ground giving way in general? At least they can fly. Okay, it's just unstable ground in marshland. Oh no. What's happening? Oh, poor Stark. God. Oh. Okay, so this is just an area that has a ton of nullifying crystals. No wonder they fell. No way to use magic. Wow, okay. Yeah, because it nullifies it. Hmm. Probably would need much more modern tools to be able to do anything with it. No, he's gonna give it a shot. Yeah, he could cut through a mountain. before, so I wouldn't be surprised if it works. It didn't. Wow, okay. Huh. So you'd have to, like, excavate around it. Huh. Well, this is a predicament. Yeah, they're gonna need to really rely on him. It comes back. She holds on to that for a while. All right, time to traverse a very dangerous space, of all things considered. Like always, Frieren's terrain is fucking beautiful to all hell. Just a pile of bones? Okay. God. That is a lot of that crystal. Hmm. Leave it to Frieren to just sleep anywhere. Yeah, lots of things have fallen into this cave, it would seem. Either that or there's a monster. Yeah. Yeah, carefree is the word for it. I mean, she's been through a lot of dangerous situations. Mhm. Yeah, for pretty much the first time in your life, you're vulnerable. Since pretty much being a child, she could use magic better than most. Hmm. Oh boy. I really like that moment, but Stark, it's time for you to help out. Whoa, okay. Come on, Stark, it's time. An apex dragon? Again? He didn't die. Run? Yeah, that's all it is. You've been traveling a long time together. She knows how capable you are. Totally. That trust needs to be there. Nope. You're a man who flees at non-critical moments. Flashbang! That thing has a lot of eyes, so it should work well. Mmm. Cool. Our first flashback of the season. Hmm. I like how Aizen's always sort of been the skeptical one. It also perfectly mirrors Stark, of course. As long as you're all working in tandem. Doesn't matter if you stand, fight, or run. Ooh! They're already getting us with the fighting animation. Ooh, whoa, Frieren's actually injured, it looks like. God, the visuals are already popping off. Holy shit. Hell yeah, Aizen. Woo! I love how hard we're going off here. I feel like we really haven't had this level of animation and stuff for a flashback fight. Yeah, time to run. Cool. Well, Himmel has to carry Frieren. It's just the way of things. Oh my god, poor Stark. Once again, mirroring this moment. Huh. Finally made it out, huh? And yet she's all smiles. Hmm. Once again, shall we go? I believe that's the name of the episode, actually. God. Yeah, shall we go then? Okay, great, Forest or whatever. I'm horrible with names. Left their stuff. Presumably out foraging or some shit. Hopefully you catch a bigger fish than last time. Yep. Okay, they're just having a bath, okay. Oh, watching the bracelet. Hmm. Yep. Her two main pieces of jewelry given to her by her party members. I mean, she cares about it. Staff given by Heiter, hairpiece by Frieren, bracelet by Stark. Yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely. Hmm. Yeah, that was. She followed you. Of course, it begins. Yeah, there's no way you would have known. Oh? Oh. Okay, growth. She calls him a perv once and then isn't mad. That's better. Oh, but the mood. The mood. Poor Stark. Oh? She's learning! Yeah, that's big. Yep. Hmm. Fair. Fair. Communication is key. Well, okay. Convenient interruption of what he was about to say. Okay. Neutral harbor, huh? Actually sleep in a house for once? Nice. Ah, cool. Immediately run into Werble and his group. Yeah. I almost forgot that they had a little moment together. Hmm. Okay. We're bound to run into that ourselves. The Imperial capital, okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Join up with their party, I assume? Yeah, okay. So that's where the emphasis of this episode lies. Just 2 or 3 years. Huh. Nice. Hmm. Fair. We know that much. Huh. I'm not surprised by Frieren's reaction, but yeah, Fern not wanting to let go of him, even if it's just for practical reasons. Really, this focus on is he comfortable in our party? Is this the place for him? I really like this Stark focus. Especially because this last arc in season, like, that ended season 1, really wasn't Stark focused. As expected. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Yeah, he didn't know what to do. Caught between a rock and a hard place. He probably would have run without them. Hmm. She gave him an opportunity, a way out. And also that moment between them. Fern's belief in him. Huh. Is that where it all comes back to? Nice. Okay. Hmm. Yeah? Hmm. Nice. Hmm. Communication. Pet? What? Oh my god. God damn it, Frieren. Huh. Hmm. A lot of focus on her things. I like it. Hmm. Oh, but now we focus on her. Ooh. Centering on her trust and hopes in Stark to get them out of there. Ooh, I like that. She relies on him too. Hmm. I really like that. That's really cool. There's a lot of good stuff in here already. Hmm. Fair. Hmm. Yep. The journey is long and meandering. Yep. Cool. I like this just brief moment with these characters again, giving us a strong character moment with Stark and Fern. I like it a lot. Hmm. God, Frieren is back. It's fucking great. Huh. Is that the end? Okay. Time for the ED. What's this look like? I love the pencil styling already, like colored pencil. Oh, is this the same artist who did the season 1 ED? Hmm. Sounds like it. I love how fucking artistically distinct the EDs have been. Himmel writing a story. Hmm. God, this is just visually so distinct. Ooh, the shadow that is the butterfly? Interesting. The story of us. Okay. Huh. Interesting. I imagine a lot of this visually will, like the first opening, find more meaning as we go. Ooh, transforms to a bird. Interesting. Huh. Defeated demon. The hero of the South. Okay. Curious about next episode now. Seems like we might be getting into something interesting there. But yeah, this was honestly all I would hope for from a return from Frieren. Something that sort of recenters us on our main three, and of the main three, mainly gives the focus to Stark, someone who, as I mentioned during the reaction, really was sort of just left in the background for the entire back half of last season, pretty much. Given that the whole mage exam arc, he didn't really have any relevance to. So to emphasize, after he hasn't been relevant for a while, why he's with the group, why he stays with them, even when given other opportunities, and really just like what Frieren and Fern mean to him, I think is really, really good. Give this moment for him to acknowledge that, to vocalize that, to recommit to the group, and have a moment where they have to rely on him, show his worth. It works so well to reconfirm his importance and relevance to the group and to the story. But at the same time, we're getting similar stuff for Frieren and Fern. This trust that they have in each other, this bond that they have, the symbols of that bond. Of the main three, everyone gets at least some kind of moment for characterization, reestablishing of dynamics, that kind of thing. Frieren is arguably the lightest of them because she is, of the characters, the most solidified in her beliefs and way of viewing the world at this point, even though she is growing and changing still, which is acknowledged in this episode as well, with the moment of her actually picking up on the fact that things are currently a little awkward between Fern and Stark, and directly asking Stark if he is ever like upset or uncomfortable to let them know. As Stark acknowledges, that is growth for her. But then really the other aspect is sort of our first flashback of the season. Our first moment reminiscing to the past. Something that inevitably happened a lot in season 1, and they already are using it to great effect here. It's a pattern that the show has used countless times over at this point, but that they just consistently are doing well. Of they have something happen in the present, something that either Stark or Fern or someone else says or does that reminds Frieren of a moment during her 10-year journey with Himmel and his party, and then we see a flashback to that moment that mirrors the current moment. In this case, it being Stark questioning how Frieren can trust him with her life so readily, which leads us to jumping back to a moment where Eisen asked Himmel the same thing. Coming back to this idea that Eisen and Stark both doubted themselves, questioned if they can be trusted with people's lives, if in the right moment they would stand and fight or not. But here we have a very strong moment where it's acknowledged by both Frieren and Himmel, obviously a case of Himmel's words echoing through Frieren. It doesn't matter if you fight or run, what matters is that we trust you and will do that with you. To run away is not cowardice, it is not weak, it is not anything like that, it is not giving up on your allies, as long as they have trust in your choices and actions, and if you choose to run, they will run with you. Or if you are the fastest, they trust you to pick them up and carry them to safety, as we see here. And I feel like this moment actually serves all three characters very well, specifically the scene of Stark running away while carrying Frieren and Fern. Because obviously, as I'm just now talking about, the Frieren side of it mirrors her time running away with the party from a big dragon or whatever. Getting carried by Himmel as she's facing towards the thing about to kill them, mirroring her getting carried by Stark facing the thing that's about to kill them. But then it also serves both Fern and Stark. For Stark, it's fairly obvious. This is a time for him to show his worth to the party, show his value to the party, and acknowledge that even if he chooses to run, it is not a bad thing. But then later in the episode, we have a moment that adds the perspective of Fern to the scene, something that solidifies her bond with Stark and his importance to their party. Where Frieren was all smiles because this was a moment of reminiscing and she's fairly confident that she could survive this because she trusts in Stark, Fern is similarly relying on Stark in this moment, but she is much more afraid. She is scared. She is in a position of powerlessness that she rarely finds herself in. We shortly before this entire interaction have a moment of honesty and vulnerability from her with Stark, talking about how she really has never been this vulnerable. And when we jump back to the scene of Stark carrying them away, we see her grab onto the bracelet given to her by Stark as she grits her teeth, closes her eyes, and just is desperately hoping that they survive, that Stark can get them out of there. Clinging to that thing that represents their bond and their connection and their reliance on each other. And that is something that, more than any words could do, shows how much she is willing to rely on trust in Stark. Even if she is terrified, doesn't know if they're going to get out, doesn't have the same inherent level of trust that Frieren does, she does still choose to grit her teeth and rely on that bond, rely on that trust. And from there, I'd like to actually jump to some of the other moments with Fern, because we do have a little focus on her, of course. The focus on the important things that she keeps is something I very much appreciate. As I was pointing out during the one moment, we have gotten to the point where Fern has some kind of item or tool that she values, that she carries on her person always, that represents her bond with the people she cares about. The bracelet is Stark, the hairpiece is Frieren, and the staff is Hyder. All of these are things that we've had acknowledged that she cares about in previous moments. We've seen the hairpiece and bracelet given to her just throughout the course of the show in their own moments, symbolizing the messiness but strength of the bond with each of the corresponding characters. And then the staff was something that was emphasized the value of very much at the end of the season last time, when it was destroyed and needed to be rebuilt. So to see how she makes sure to wash them, take care of them, show clearly that she values these items is something I very much appreciate. And they even here use them to express something else about her character that rarely gets brought up. She is a war orphan. She lost everything at a young age. So, of course, she's going to want to hold on to everything that is precious to her even harder and want to take care of it and make sure that she doesn't lose those bonds, lose those things that represent them. It further recontextualized why she was so adamant about fixing her staff rather than getting a new one last season. But then speaking of these bonds, I would also acknowledge that it does seem like her messy relationship with Stark does continue to improve. In the past, when Stark has accidentally done something that she views as pervy, she has pouted, she has been annoyed at him consistently, and it's lasted a long time. Where here, she calls him a perv, as usual, but then tells him she's not mad, and then is just sort of quiet. She's not visibly pouting or anything, she's just sort of moving on, as far as we can tell. She might be internally a bit annoyed, but she doesn't actively express it in the same way she used to. Now, of course, Stark still is in this awkward position where he doesn't know if she's actually mad, but it is still growth, I would say. And even beyond that, near the end of the episode, when Stark reaffirms why he stayed with the group, why he chose to journey with Frieren and Fern, that it was as much because of Fern as it was Frieren, if not more. And then in sort of a comedic moment, asks to be treated better because of that. Fern does legitimately try to offer a form of appreciation. It comes off as sort of weird and awkward when she says that she'll pet him. He definitely doesn't take it as a sign of affection. But if you think about it, how has Fern grown up showing affection and receiving affection? She's taken care of Frieren, praised her when she gets out of bed early, pat her on the head a few times, that kind of thing. And Frieren has done the same to her, praised her when she's done well, pat her on the head. So, though the phrasing is a bit weird, it does line up with how she has learned to offer and receive praise. Now, of course, Stark is a much more sort of socialized person in a lot of ways, and also is very prone to reacting aggressively to this kind of thing, I guess. Or at the very least, overreacting is maybe the way to put it. So it doesn't immediately go over well, and she just sort of to herself at his reaction is just like, oh, what a pain. But it once again does show a level of growth in their relationship, which I appreciate. But then jumping from there back to Stark, I do want to emphasize this moment where he admits why he joined the party, why he decided to go on this journey. Before, we just had the reasoning that he decided he wanted to journey the world and go on an adventure and have stories to tell Aizen that he could bring back to Aizen before Aizen dies. And of course, that's probably still an aspect of it, still a motivator, but we really re-emphasize here that he was in a rough spot. He was at a mental block. He did not believe he was anywhere near capable of defeating that solar dragon. But the town thought of him as a hero. He had lived off of that, being just this false hero for years, I believe, if I remember correctly. I didn't go and rewatch that episode, but I remember it pretty well. At the very least, it was a good few months. But of course, he's not a bad person. He's not the kind of person to, for an extended amount of time, leech off of others. He might find it comfortable, and a certain part of him is tempted to do so, but at a certain point, his conscience catches up with him. And it seems like by the time Frieren and Fern arrived, he was at the end of his rope. He was ready to run away, prove to himself again that he is a coward. And we know that if he had left, the dragon would have destroyed that town in all likelihood. He was the reason it wasn't attacking. So even beyond what Frieren and Fern did to convince him to join them, the fact that they arrived when they did and tried to get him to join them alone saved him in many ways. So of course, he's going to be appreciative of them and want to help them out and want to support them in their journey. But at the same time, we have this acknowledgement that it wasn't just the somewhat harsh, deadpan Frieren pulling him along to convince him to do this, just sort of force him into the situation, because it really wasn't, even from our first experience of it. She told him to meet them to fight the dragon, and then he showed up. It was all on him. But now we learn that the thing that made the difference, the thing that made him decide to join them, to fight that solar dragon, to face his fears, not be the coward he believes himself to be, were those few encouraging words from Fern the night before. It wasn't this call to action from this legendary wizard who traveled with his master for a time and now called upon him. It was a few words of encouragement from a stranger who, prior to that, didn't seem to believe in him. And that does fundamentally shift ever so slightly to emphasize that his relation to the party. He is here now because he chose to believe in the belief that Fern gave him. A little bit of that Kamina Gurren Lagann, believe in the me that believes in you, even if it wasn't presented that way, which I just really appreciate. I really like that. As I said earlier, this really serves to re-solidify the party in many ways. Re-solidify the importance of each member, the relevance of each member, and how closely tied all of them are. And within all of this, they do a great job of having just the right amount of tension, I feel like, in both parts of the episode. Because obviously, there's the tension of, uh-oh, Frieren and Fern can't use their magic, they are basically regular women now, it's all up to Stark to keep them safe, which works. They don't emphasize too much of a threat or too much tension there, but just enough to make our characters a little bit uncomfortable, while emphasizing that Frieren really isn't. She trusts in him. And then the second half enables us to really tie down and solidify, no, Stark is part of this party. He wants to be part of this party. He is here of his own volition, even if things are awkward sometimes, even if Fern and him don't always get along, even if he struggles to understand Frieren sometimes. He has chosen to be here because he believes in these people and trusts in them like they trust in him. And that is served through Werbel's reappearance. Him and his little group on the way up to the Northern Plateau to deal with more demon stuff that inevitably we'll run into in the future, I imagine, because we've been just moving further up and hearing more and more about how the demon remnants have been acting up and causing problems. So inevitably Werble is probably a character we'll see more of later. So this sort of serves double duty of his in-episode role of being the temptation for Stark to go elsewhere, to do something else, to have a way out of this party if he wants it, which then of course serves as a way for him to deny the temptation, reaffirm his spot in the party, and have great character moments because of that. But it also hints towards the future, hints towards Werble's continued relevance into the future as well, and I'm happy about that. I really like that, because Werble definitely was a standout character in the Mage Exam arc, and I'm excited to see more of him, even if it isn't necessarily right away. My guess is that we're probably going to have this moment where we see him here, and then it'll probably be, I don't know, like half the season before we see him again is my guess. We have some places to go through before we hit the Northern Plateau, as acknowledged. Who knows how fast we'll move through that area? I imagine we'll have at least one episodes in the sort of hot springs area that's been acknowledged. I also would like to acknowledge the way that Frieren describes the area as being a volcanic environment, but that actually it's more of just a hot spring now, because it makes sense. Even if the volcanoes there haven't erupted in centuries, to her, if she's wandered around the world for her life and is aware of sort of the goings-on of certain parts of the world, to her, a few centuries is less than half of her life. She'll be like, oh yeah, no, it's a volcanic area. It hasn't erupted in a while, but it's still a volcanic area, where to the people of this world who are human or have that shorter lifespan, it's just a hot springs area. Sure, maybe someone has the awareness or wherewithal to know that there's a volcano there that could erupt, but it much more is the kind of thing that either with like much more advanced awareness of geological stuff or just a long life you would know about or be aware of or think about, which I don't know, I might be putting a bit more emphasis on that than is really necessary, but I do feel like it is just a subtle little moment of once again emphasizing how old Frieren is. But yeah, very much so. Beyond that, this episode is just a great return to form. Has a lot of the elements that we've come to love from the show, various callbacks to the previous season, various moments big and small, really just showing us these are still the characters that we love, doing things that interest us, and in general just sort of reassuring us that the magic of season 1 is still here, which I very much appreciate. Of course, I could eat my words. The next episode could suddenly tank in quality, but I doubt it. But with all that said, I think between what I said mid-reaction and now, I think I've covered pretty much everything in this episode. It's a lot of really solid and meaty stuff, but it's pretty straightforward in the text already, and is very clearly much more of an introductory episode than it is really giving us too much crazy new information or major plot stuff, but that is not a bad thing because that is what Frieren as a series flourishes in. These slower, more mundane character moments are just as important and interesting to this show as are the big bombastic moments of animation and fighting choreography and stuff like that, which I suppose is the last thing I do actually want to just acknowledge. Don't really have too much to say about it, but I just want to acknowledge it. Very much the highlight of animation in this episode came from the flashback fight with the dragon. I mentioned during the reaction, during that part, that it really feels like that is the most dramatic and Sakuga level animation that we have gotten from a flashback scene to the Himmel hero party, which I appreciate. I very much appreciate that they are willing to give the budget to those scenes just as much as they are the modern day scenes. But it also serves as a way to have this, honestly, in most ways, more mundane and slow-paced modern section, contrasting with this very well animated and very dynamic fight scene from the past, because it, first off, just keeps the energy up, keeps things interesting, but it also does a good job of basically telling us, hey, this season is gonna have good animation as well. They're gonna have some crazy big moments like this in the future as well. At least that's what I take from it. But yeah, with that, I think I will leave things here. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and very special thanks to all of my channel members, including Amorphosilica, Desaize, Pokelove 101, and Unusual Echo at the normal tier, and Kondo Nano at the cool person tier. Really appreciate your support, as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye!